What is this? What am I looking at?
I've been like ever since I got to D4, I've had so many issues with mental.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, like I've done a few sessions with you since I hit D4,
Yep.
and a lot of them I thought I found the answer. So I didn't fully explain the problems, and you never really got the opportunity to, I think, like critique whether the answers I came up with were right or wrong.
Okay.
So I kind of just want to explain the full problem to you and see what you think.
Okay.
So everything I've come up with was always like a temporary fix, and it never fixed my issues uh permanently. Or not permanently, because you there's no such thing as a permanent
Yep.
fix, but for the long term.
Mm.
So this graph I drew kind
Mm-hmm.
of shows like it's my inchworm graph,
Yeah.
and it's kind of messed up, but
Yeah.
like I would say when I play normally, this is kind of my average, like D4.
Yep. So this is
But
like the middle of your bell curve.
yeah,
You would say in the middle of your curve you've got D4, which is kind of where you're at most, like where your
yeah,
kind of skill nets out. If you
yeah,
play, and let me interpret this. So when you tilt, you lose games and you kind of fall back to P2 roughly.
yeah, to this area between D4 and P2. That's
Yeah. And
yeah.
then and then when you are playing with normal play, and what do you mean by normal play? That's just
Well, it's
mentally
just like
sound.
not tilted, like mentally
Yep.
sound,
Yep.
playing, just with good intensity, just normal.
Okay. And then you've got like
And
this is like an outlier. You're playing whether you get lucky or you're just playing out of your mind. That's not replicable
I
yet.
think it is replicable. I think my early laning is very good
Mm.
at the moment. Um, but I don't want to say that
Yeah.
because I'm trying to see myself as only as good as I play. So
Okay.
for me, that for now, that I just see it as an outlier.
Where does this start? Where does the tilt start? Like, do you have an idea? Or
So yeah, I do. So I have I have these issues where can you it would actually be easier if I show you one of these actual cycles. Can I send you my OPGG and
yep.
you like show you some of the games?
Okay.
You have to go to I play some other game modes, so you have to go to ranked solo duo.
So this is and so okay. So we'll go rank solo, and then we get this is
Yeah.
what it looks like. So walk me through this. What am I looking for?
So so if you go up to like the most recent, yeah, so here, if you go down to it's this cycle started with this 14-3-8 Ari game.
Yep.
I was I've been trying to pick up Ari
Mm-hmm.
after our like little discussion,
Yep.
and I I I- I'm not picking up Ari. I've decided that I'm just gonna stick with Irelia.
Okay.
That was a very recent thing, but at this time I was trying to pick her up.
Okay.
And so I had this game where I thought I felt like I played really well,
Mm-hmm.
and my team struggled, but the way I saw it is the mistakes of my teammates don't matter because they're not game losing mistakes. Like they can make 1,000 mistakes, but none of them matter because they're not game losing.
Mm.
I played a really good game of League of Legends, and I made one mistake, and it was game losing.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, it's so hard to see it that way, so I just was like, okay, it's a 30% loss.
Mm.
And so I queued up again, and I was like, in my mind, this is something I do where
Mm.
if I have a 30% loss, I feel like I'm owed a game. Like I'm owed a win. Like if I just queue up and play a game, the game owes me a win.
Yep. Yep. Like you're keeping a mental checklist. It's like okay,
Yeah,
that I had that 30% loss. Someone's got to give me a 30% win here. I got to
yeah,
win. I deserve to
yeah,
win the next game. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so, like, I played this game
Yep.
and I wasn't in the best mental place. I
Yep.
kind of trolled.
Yep.
And
So
so,
you're probably someone
but
else's 30% loss.
yeah, yeah. And I tilted, yeah, I tilted off of that again.
Mm-hmm.
And like by the third game, it's just my fault that
Mm-hmm.
we lose.
Mm-hmm.
And even by the second game, because I'm on tilt.
Yep.
And so then I just
And then you're just carrying this on, like you
like
haven't let
yeah,
go. You're
I just
and
yeah,
just so I'm assuming you've probably kept a mental note though of like the LP you've lost from this point as well. Like I'm
yeah,
assuming,
yeah,
like you're always thinking back to that moment. If only like I didn't lose these games, I would be X rank, or and every rank,
yeah,
every game I'm playing, I'm going further away from my goal, and
yeah.
it's the mental
No,
baggage
I
from keeping
actually
track of
think
the
that
LP, right? As well.
like in game, if I'm say I'm one win
Yep.
from like D3 or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
I'll think if I lose this game, then I'm 2 wins. Like I have to win
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
games.
Okay, I already
Like
know
I have
what we
to
need to cover regardless, man. It's very simple.
yeah,
So, yeah, what's happening? You've got the this is for a lot of people in here. Very important, something that we all need to understand. I found this as well. This happens to everyone. It literally happened to me not long ago. where okay, so I was this season, like I was
yeah,
650-ish LP, and I started like just playing around with my champ pool and just like playing different champs, right? And
yeah,
inevitably I lost games. But then I also combined that with like a tilt spree. I also went on like I said this on the podcast. Like I went on like a tilt spree, right? Went all the way back to I think 400, and every game I won here or lost, I was always like, this was kind of like an anchor. I imagine like I'm like this guy that's getting pulled on by like a rope, and I'm getting
yeah,
dropped down, but like I'm still attached here. Like, but I imagine like I'm rock climbing or some shit. Or I don't know. Like I'm like attached to a little ledge here, and there's like a thing dropping me down, and in my
yeah,
mind, I'm just gonna like zip line all the way back up, like whenever I want,
yeah,
right? But
yeah,
like that's just never the case. You can't ever think like that. You can't like this is fucking delusional. Like this is really stupid. Because there are many. There's always like my favorite quote is that um, everything makes sense. If something doesn't make sense, it's just your view of reality. And so like
mm,
even if you're not even like it's you're obviously doing things to contribute to this rank, you just aren't able to see it because you can't be objective about your own level of play because you've got a lot of and it's very emotional, right? Everyone, we're all competitive, we all want to win, we want to climb. It's
yeah,
too difficult to spot out what you're doing. And I sat here for a while, you know, just in a way just attached to this rank for whatever reason, which is like really I've
yeah,
never done. I very rarely do that, but it just happened to be a lot going into my real life. My champ pools that was a bit fucked. There's a lot going on, and I just got
yeah,
over that, and I didn't and yeah, I call bullshit on myself. So I spoke to Nathan like, oh, just okay, great. I just need to let go and just accept where you're at. And I think that like that I say this time and time again. It's just not sexy. You have to you have to bring back you have to bring everything back to not if you win, right? Or if you lose. It's how you win or how you lose.
mm,
And that's the thing that saves me every time. Like if I were to put myself in your shoes and you're at D4 whatever. If I win a game and I go from D4 0 LP to 20 LP, I can't allow myself to feel happy without looking at the review. If I looked at the review and I ticked my learning objectives, I used my LOL states, I'm pretty happy with my threat assessment, I'm happy with my WinCon assessment, like it was a good win. It was a genuinely high intensity, good win.
yeah,
Great. Then I can allow myself to be happy, right? I can allow myself to feel positive, like, you know, positive emotions, whatever. I in a way, deserve it. If I win again, but that next game, I actually won in a really shitty way. Like I didn't use my LOL states. I got sloppy in the mid game. I didn't call my lane assignments. I didn't play how I want to play. Then I can't allow myself to feel the same form of elation as I did when I got this first amount of 20 LP. In my mind, that's actually as good as a loss. But the exact
yeah,
same thing goes for losses. If I lose, but it's a good loss, like I'm actually pretty happy with how I played. I genuinely got outplayed. Like I would never be able to not make that mistake. Like that was my level of play. Like be honest with myself, and that's actually the biggest thing to help me, is that when I would lose, I had to tell myself, Curtis, I'm always gonna make this mistake. That's my level of play. There was no reality in which I don't make that mistake. And this guy, great. And the other thing that helped me is like giving people, and this is what I said to Nathan, give people the respect they deserve. As I've gotten older, I mean, I'm not some fucking old, I'm not some wise old man. I'm only 26, but like 27, whatever. But like at the end of the day, when I lost to someone, my default response was fuck this guy. This guy sucks. But what does that mean if I lose to someone that I call is shit or sucks? What does that make me?
Even worse than
I'm even worse. So what
Yeah.
does that do? It fucks your confidence, right? Because now you're anchored at that point. If this guy sucks and I'm losing to this guy, you then are really confused because you're like, well, I just called this guy shit. I think this guy's shit. I lost to him. Fuck, I'm even worse than this guy. That's actually what happens subconsciously. And you lose your confidence. What I found was that then, rather than judging this guy or saying he's good or bad, whatever, just call a spade a spade. If he outplayed you, he outplayed you. Give that guy the respect that he deserves. That guy actually played it pretty well. So I found my elitist mentality come up from like the grave when I started going this tilt spree, and I like there's like some zillion one trick. And my default response subconsciously is like, fuck this guy. This guy's shit at the game. He's a zero one trick, whatever. But I'm like, when I switched the narrative to, no, this guy's actually really good at Zillion. I got to give this guy respect, and I actually learned a lot about the matchup. That's a very different mentality. That's a very healthy mentality. And if I lose, like, because I know I learn. And so when I would lose a game, I have to just convince myself to just get specific. Okay, cool. This guy outplayed me. Or I wasn't happy with this loss because I didn't do the things that were in my control. I didn't use my lull states. I didn't, think about win cons. I didn't think about key threats onto me. I didn't call off that objective, or I wasn't focused in heading into the loading screen and think about my early lane hypothesis or whatever. Those are the things that make it a bad loss. So there's such a thing as a good win.
A good loss.
Yeah, a good win, a bad win, and a good loss, and a bad loss. You want as many good losses and good wins as possible. But these bad losses and bad wins are only on you. They're all on you. Regardless of the fucking outcome, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Because what you're looking for is you're looking for the learning. You're looking for what you can take away from it. And when you kind of manage your ego, you give the people respect they deserve. Stop thinking, oh, I'm in D4, these guys was a shit. No. You got to remember everyone's journey, right? You might come up against one player, right? You queue into Jim Bob 69. This guy might be some really, this player that like has played for a long time. He has really bad micro, but he's fucking smart, right? So on the surface, you might land against him like, haha, this guy's shit, I can destroy this noob. But then like he actually outplays you, or he actually plays a skirmish better than you, or he like gets a roam off or whatever. But in your mind, if you've called Jim Bob 69 trash, you're not going to it's very difficult for you to look into the review and genuinely learn from this guy.
Yeah.
Because you're just not. Like, your ego won't let you learn.
You're just going to be like, oh, my team gave him free kills. They didn't listen to pings.
Yeah, exactly. Or this guy got lucky or whatever it might be. But like, then you're missing out on learning. Like, you're just not going to... You're just not going to learn that way. So, like, treating everyone as an equal, like he's here for a reason, and really looking at the review and like looking at how you contributed to the win. Are you being the highest impact mid laner you can possibly be? Are you doing your job? Yeah. And then just do that rinse repeat, man. It seems like to me you're anchoring on this LP, and I think that the anchoring on the LP is causing probably a toxic cycle, and this is why, by the way, you know how we talk about okay, so the last thing I'll end on is to prevent anchoring on LP. You need to stop overemphasizing wins. Like I can tell, like you're probably the type of person that gets so happy when you like win a series of games, like you have a 3-0 block or whatever. You get so fucking happy, you're like over the moon. Yeah. Because you're like making insane progress. You're like, oh yes, I'm finally nearly at, at D3, or I'm getting closer to my goal of Master Tier, whatever. Like but because you're so elated, you're so happy for winning, when you lose, you're not going to be level-headed. You're going to be so fucking sad.
Yeah.
So when you win, take it in stride and get into the review. And is it a good win? What did you do to contribute to the game? What can you replicate?
And
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 yeah,
even being super happy about a win isn't good. Like neither extreme is good because
exactly.
you're
You
just
can
gonna be
be
super overconfident and
exactly.
whatever.
You can be proud of yourself, and you can give yourself a very a pat on the back and be like, oh, I'm happy with. But get specific. What are you happy with? What did
Yeah,
you
it
do in
could
that
be
game?
like three good losses. I mean
Well,
bad wins, sorry.
yeah, they could have just three bad wins, right? If you're not honest with
Yeah, yeah.
yourself, it's like for example, yesterday, right? I had I just got lucky. I had a 3-0 block. All right, I won. I had two Pike support games, right, and then I had one Jace mid game. I got pretty lucky on honestly both of the Pike games. Like I didn't play shit, but I didn't play great. And on the Jace game, I just had three. Like everyone just won. Like I could have fucking done anything and won that game. And so I didn't feel good after any of these games, really.
Yeah,
But it was a 3-0 block, right? I could have easily
yeah,
been delusional and be like, fuck yeah, I'm the greatest of all time, and look at me, I'm making insane progress. But no, like, that could have easily been a 0-3 block. Like, so easily. I just got fucking lucky, and then you're gonna get days where you're gonna get unlucky. The other great thing about this if you have this approach is that when you do lose, right? When you do lose, like you're gonna know that like I mean you'll know that you have this is basically like a 30% win block in a way, like
yeah,
like I just had a whole block of 30% wins in a way, even though it's hard for me to admit that that's the case, really.
yeah,
And then when you have a loss, when you have the 0-3 block, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I had a 30% win block the other day. But how interesting is that no one says that. No one says I had a 30% win block or like I had a bunch of 30% wins. Like it's very rare that
yeah,
that's the case. Everyone just tunnels on the 30% losses.
yeah,
So yeah, so there's a few things there. So the biggest thing is and also you're only as good as your last game. That's another thing as well that I always say to myself. It's like, your ego's gonna want to tell you that like you're this newly formed like oh look at me, I was once at D2, or I was once at this rank. That means that I am forever this good and I deserve to get back here. If you play like a D3 in the next game, great, I'm a D3. If you play like a D4 in the next game, great. I register myself as a D4. I accepted that I'm currently playing at like a 500 LP level right now. I'm not playing
yeah,
like a 1k LP player. I've been 1k LP for the past 2 seasons or whatever. But I can't call myself a 1k LP player just because I was 1k LP the past 2 seasons. No, I'm playing like a 500 LP player. I know what it feels like to feel like a 1k LP player, and I'm not playing like that. So like, if you're really fucking honest with yourself, and again, you're only as good as your last game. That's it. That's it.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Given that it's taken quite a bit of time, was there anything specific in this VOD that you wanted to look for, or do you think that this mental thing
No,
is what you
nothing.
needed?
It was kind of just an example of everything I was
Got you.
wanted to show you.
Well, so hopefully this puts you on the right path. I gave you a lot of information to dwell on. Like I just bombarded you with a lot of different things, tools that you can use for your own
Yeah.
use, your own disposal. But if you want,
No,
is there anything you need
I'm
clarification on?
no, I'm just gonna watch this watch the replay a bunch
Mm-hmm.
just to just to fully let everything sink in.
Okay.
But I think I don't have any questions, so all
Lovely.
right. Thanks,
Beautiful.
man.
Thank you, man.